Okay, my next guest is somebody who's become a regular on the show. She's always welcome because she's one of the best-known singers from the 1980s, all thanks to that massive hit, China in Your Hand. And I'm pleased to say I'm finally going to get to see her in person at Let's Rock Northern Ireland, which is coming to Bangor. Let's find out more because Carol Decker from Tapau joins us on the line. Carol, how are you?
I'm really well. So nice to talk to you.
We'll talk about the big Northern Ireland gig in a second, but it seems like you haven't stopped this year. It's gig after gig, festival after festival.
Yeah, well, we're playing catch up with a lot, obviously, from sort of 20 and 21. You know, lots of things got postponed and put back. So it's gone from being like no work for 2 years to it's all come back, and I'm getting a bit confused and tired already.
So just before the interview there, I played Guess Who's Sorry Now, which was the record that you brought out last year. We're still loving that, but are we going to hear another new song anytime soon?
We've got a new one we're working on. It's not a toe tapper, it's a bit of a thoughtful song. And it's called World on Fire. And we've got to get the video done for it. Because Guess Who's Sorry Now, it just had a little lyric video that my son did because we just didn't have the time or the money to do anything. So Roland's come up with an idea to just film it on the hoof, you know, at different gigs, backstage, just me singing it. So it's casual, just collate it all together. And we've got a few festivals we're going to do that at. And so we'll put that out probably, I think, August, September, another single. And then we want to do an album and maybe pull all these downloads together onto one thing, because we've just been putting out downloads as we felt like it. We haven't really had a plan, and I have no idea if it was a sensible thing to do. We just had songs and we put them out. So yeah, Ronnie wants to do an album. He also wants to do an acoustic album, you know, with proper strings and stuff like that. So we're talking that through at the moment.
That would be lovely. And of course, for any massive Tapau fans as well, the Essential Tapau collection came out as well, which is brilliant. Everything on one big package.
Yeah, it was it 4 or 5 CDs, and it was hundreds of songs, including very early versions, demos, strange 12-inch mixes that I didn't even know existed. So it's kind of warts and all. So you get all the polished stuff that, you know, became the hits and the big albums, and then you've got the kind of work in progress things and the odd experimentations. Some of it I don't even particularly like, I'll be honest with you. This guy, who did that? Who gave that the green light? But anyway, it's on there, so it's like a body of work, you know. One
of the songs that I did rediscover, and I bought it on vinyl way back in the 90s and played it a lot back then, and I've just rediscovered it. I'm playing it on the radio all the time. Is a song, Whenever You Need Me.
Oh, that was our last top 20 hit. How sad is that? And it got to number 16. Did really well, because our third album, although, you know, obviously Bridge of Spies dwarfs everything, being quadruple platinum, it's still top 10. It still went gold. So you were shifting units back then, as we used to say, you know, and it goes down really well with the fans. And I never do stuff like this, but the guy who runs my Facebook, he'll go on Spotify and look at the stats and go, you can see what's downloaded the most and what your fans really like. So we put it back in the set, because a lot of diehard Tapau fans remember it and still love it. So I'm glad you did too. Thank you, Robin.
Okay, so when you come to play Let's Rock Northern Ireland, will you be doing it in the set then?
No, because I'm kind of in the middle of the sausage machine that is a huge array of 80s artists. So you have to stick to the real big ones, you know. So what will I be doing? Definitely Heart and Soul, definitely China, and a couple of others. Don't worry, there'll be hits there. But it would be great to do Whenever You Need Me, wouldn't it? I'll have to lobby for that.
I think so.
But you know, the promoters of these kind of hits-based festivals, they can be quite strict about what they want you to do, because it's all about the big hits. It's all about the massive impact ones, not just the lovely song that everyone was quite fond of, you know.
Of course, and of course the album Bridge of Spies, I mean, that just was hit after hit. I mean, there wasn't a bad song on that album. And nowadays we listen to songs on shuffle play, on Spotify and stuff like that. But I think for the first time in about 30 years recently, I sat down and listened to Bridge of Spies from the start right through to the end. And it's such a good album. It's like a story right through.
Well, we used to work very hard at putting the songs in the right order, and that was always my job. And also to the length of the fade of the track before, I would just say, stop it there and bring that one in. So that was always my job, to do the collating. I sort of had an instinct for that. So thanks, I'm glad you approve.
Yeah, brilliant. And of course, I mean, the 80s music again is making a big comeback, even for younger people, thanks to all these Netflix shows like Stranger Things now, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you know, I get asked this all the time. People think it's a new sort of renaissance. It's not. As you know, I did my first 80s tour in 2000, well, you know, comeback tour, if you like, in 2001 with Paul Young, Kim Wilde and Go West. So we started doing these packages together a long time ago. So that's lasted even longer than the decade. But you're quite right. Stranger Things obviously is a phenomenon, and it's made Running Up That Hill a huge hit again. And well, Heart and Soul went into Black Mirror a couple of years ago, and often goes into a lot of movies in the States because it was a big hit out there. So it is nice. You get a little kick, you know, and everybody rallies around the song again, which is really, really nice.
Okay, I got some Tapao facts and figures here. 1987, of course, was the big year. China in Your Hand was #1. And Tapao can officially say they were bigger than the Beatles that year, weren't you?
Very briefly, it's quite funny, actually, because we kept George Harrison in the #2 slot for 5 weeks in the singles charts. And simultaneously, Bridge of Spies was #1 in the album charts. At the same time, China was #1 in the singles charts, and we kept Paul McCartney at #2 in the album chart. So I kept 2 Beatles after the #1 slot.
So tell us about Let's Rock Northern Ireland then. Who else is going to be on this lineup? Because I mean, it just seems like it's just the who's who of the 1980s. I mean, Belinda Carlisle's going to be with you, isn't she?
She's not on the same day as me. So looking at my schedule for the 6th, we've got China Crisis, Toya, Jackie Graham, Heaven 17 are great, Sister Sledge, love them, Howard Jones, ABC, Wet, 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 and then Adamant closes our night on the 6th. But if you go on to put Let's Rock into Dr. Google, and you know, folks can get the whole lineup straight away and see which day they want to go. But obviously the day I'm on will be the best.
Well, of course, it's the day that I have to come, because I've never seen you live. So what about these guys who you're on the road with? I mean, are you all really good friends when you all get together?
I would never sort of try and make out things are more than they are, but yeah, I do have some good pals, really good pals. I'm great pals with Toya, Claire Grogan, Kim Wilde is a great pal, Tony Hadley, love him to bits, Nick Kershaw, and I go back 35 years. My first big tour was opening for Nick Kershaw when Heart and Soul was just starting to bumble up the charts, you know. Holly Johnson is adorable. We were just in Dublin together doing a big festival out there. So pals, yeah, you know, and it's lovely to bump into each other and have a little chat, a bit of a catch up, maybe a little noggin. When we were at Dublin last weekend, somebody said it was a really good idea to have a lot of wild turkey bourbon after lots of rosé wine. I went along with that, regretted it deeply. I blame Nick Kershaw for that. It took me 2 days to get over it. And hue and cry, Pat Kane. Hope you're proud of yourselves. I had a terrible headache.
Obviously, back in the 80s, when you were #1 in the charts, you were touring all over the world and stuff. You were obviously making a lot of money back then. So were you spending lots on extravagant things? But what was life like back then?
I bought things I needed and could then afford. So I bought a house, you know. Prior to that, I'd been in rented flats, and I bought a nice car. The MX-5 had just come out in 1990, so I bought myself one of those. But I've always lived within my means. Like, so obviously we were incredibly successful, and I've been super lucky. But just to put it in perspective, I wasn't in the Rolling Stones, so I wasn't going to go out and buy, you know, a handful of Porsches and have no money left, you know. But I've been able to treat myself to some nice things. And at one point, when Ronnie and I were still together, you know, we had a lovely house in London, and we bought a farm in Wales and put a studio in there, and we did some really, really nice things, but that were also useful to what we needed for our lifestyle. But I've never actually been that stupidly extravagant. I won't blow my money, but I do enjoy myself. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I'm glad you mentioned Ronnie there as well, because obviously you were working together back then. You were in a relationship back then. You're not now, but you're still working together. So is everything still working well these days?
Perfect. I mean, I've been with my husband 25 years, so you're talking ancient history. Yeah, Ronnie and I were together for a long time ago. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's all ancient history, and he's still one of my best friends, so that's fine. And we still work together, you know. He's a bit of a nag, though. He always wants to do something. No, I'm getting lazier.
I see a gold disc behind you there. What's that disc for?
That,
Yeah.
that is actually the British Spies quadruple platinum disc.
Wow.
Because of where I had it hanging, the sun has ruined it. So some of the bits, I'll show you, some of the bits have dropped off. So that's the platinum, and this is the 4 times, right?
Wow.
So the little dots have dropped down, and it irritates me. So I've taken it off the wall, and Richard's going to fix it for me, so it still looks beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why it's in the office. I wasn't strategically placing it.
I'm glad you showed me that. Now, when you hear your new stuff being played on the radio today, do you still get excited when you hear it on the air?
I get astonished, frankly. Where did you hear it on the radio?
I've been playing it. I've been playing it all.
Play it, yeah. That's a move over by you. It doesn't get played that often. I'm going to be completely frank with you, which is definitely disappointing. It's hard to break through. It's hard to cut through. I'm very reliant on support from people like your good self, and fans loving it and downloading it from Spotify, or, you know, checking it out on YouTube. We just keep it going. We keep it going. And I've long since given up paying expensive pluggers who tell me after £1,000 for a week that Radio 2 aren't going to playlist it. So I've just given up. It's hard. That side of things is hard. You know, the 80s stations, you'll hear our stuff rather, played so many times a day. It's fantastic, but they are formatted to the 80s. And then I'm not considered groovy enough, or I'm considered too old now for even BBC Radio 2.
I know, it's absolutely crazy, but we have to hand it to Mike Reid as well, because he's doing a good job playing all the new stuff, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, well, it would be wonderful. I think went to the top of the Heritage chart, which was great, which was lovely. But even that word heritage, it's just like, I feel like I should have a blue plaque over my head or something. It's just vintage, heritage. It's all, they're trying to find polite, nice ways of going like yesterday, you know. So I was grateful to Mike and grateful to all the people who downloaded the song and pushed it to the top of that chart. It was fantastic, but I don't like the marginalisation so much, I've got to admit.
Carol, as always, it's lovely to talk to you, and I look forward to seeing you for Let's Rock Northern Ireland.
City of Bangor, I have been told. We've had a promotion.
City of Bangor, yes, exactly.
There you go. Be proud, be loud and proud, Bangor.
Brilliant.
Okay.
See you then, Carol. Cheers. Bye-bye.